without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about the team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this.
Oh, I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get any...
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm Pags, your host. We got Bo in the middle. We got McLovin on the other side. We're all here to talk some sports with you guys. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started, but now we're ready to go. Hot to trot. And, you know, I'm going to start off. We got to start off because I just got this news today that obviously the 49ers had an injury the other day, and their star running back, CMC, has got a calf strain. Do we believe it or not?
I absolutely 100% believe it. Look, when I look at CMC, that's the same way I look at Barkley. I just feel like if you breathe on that guy the wrong way, something's going to happen. We all know CMC's had a history of injuries, just like Saquon's had a history of injuries. It's always just a matter of time. And I feel like, look, when you put CMC and he's like damn near 75% of your offense, do you really think at some point he's not going to have an injury?
Well, besides, I mean, at this point in the year, they're going to sit him anyway, right? So, I mean, they don't need to win this game. They got the first seed locked up. So this is just their way of making it not look like load management. And they're like, oh, he's dinged up, we're going to sit him down. But I mean, realistically, into this game, you're going to have most of your big starters sitting anyway.
Well, I kind of agree. I didn't think he would play this game. Give him a couple of weeks off. Do you believe that now, since he won't be playing Week 18 and they do have the bye, that he's going to come out rusty?
Yeah, I mean, last year, the 49ers have always had pretty good teams. They just always seem to run into the injury bug. Last year was Brock Purdy, and then pretty much everybody else behind Brock Purdy. That pretty much kept them from, getting to the – I really think they would have got the Super Bowl had they not had that Phil General issue. I think they were really locked in. Now, this year it's going to be, Christian McCaffrey. You watch. They will sit him. And like you said, I do think he comes out a little bit rusty. Not so much rusty, but I think his timing may be a little bit off. And sometimes when your timing is off, do you overcompensate, which then leads to another damn injury?
Yeah. I mean, I look at it as if you have the bye, I don't love sitting people because 2 weeks off is a long time in a sport where momentum matters, right? Like if you were backing in, right? Like if you were the Eagles right now, right? Where they're not playing their best ball. Do you sit some guys? You're probably not going to win the division, get everybody right, kind of reset. It would make sense. When you look at Baltimore, I wouldn't love them sitting everybody, right? Because 2 weeks off, you got a team that's really just rolling, right? I wouldn't want to disrupt that because, again, football it's such a momentum-based type of thing. You watch it in individual games. You watch it throughout the season. So if you got a team that's on a roll going in, I don't love sitting a bunch of guys. If you got a team that's kind of struggling going in, I don't mind sitting it, kind of getting guys right to try and get out of whatever funk you're in. In the Niners case, they're kind of all over the place. So I think you can go either way, right? Like they lost 3, they won 3, they lose 1. Like they're fine, right? They don't really need to play, but they don't need to rest either. So I think they probably ultimately rest some guys, but I don't love having a team off for a couple of weeks unless there's already injuries.
And I think Mac said it not that long ago on the football show. I thought he was pretty spot on. Like, you can be the best team, but if you got another team, like let's say the Browns or somebody else that's riding that hot momentum, or they're just hot, they just get hot at the right time, that can take you out, which I think is probably what you're saying. It's like, if you have the Eagles that come in or you have the 49ers that come off that bye and they're going up against, let's say the Lions or somebody, I'm just hypothetically saying that, and they're riding that hot streak. I mean, they could theoretically get blown out because they're just not matching the energy.
Absolutely.
Well, and I can only hope for something like that at this point because I almost expect that they're going to rest some of their starters this Sunday. I wouldn't play them. You know what I mean? I would give them the week off, have them think about their performances over the last few weeks and see what they can do to turn it around against the team that's going to barely squeak in. Whoever makes it in this week from the NFC South is going to squeak in. Because either way, it's like Tampa Bay wins it, but if Tampa Bay loses, whoever wins that Atlanta-New Orleans game makes it, and then it's like anybody else. If it's funny because if Green Bay and everybody loses, like Green Bay and Seattle both lose, then I guess Tampa Bay could possibly make it in there, or New Orleans make it in there with a 9-8 record. But I just can't see anything but one team making it in there.
Question on that. Dalvin Cook just got released by the Jets. I got to be honest with you. If I'm San Francisco, I'm going to go wrap his ass up and put him in the back just in case McCaffrey has issues. I could throw Dalvin Cook in there, at least have a pretty reliable backup.
There's no chance that he would make it to that. Actually, that we have an injury, like the Eagles have injuries at running back. I wouldn't be surprised if Dalvin Cook made it, just came down the turnpike a little bit, or actually didn't even leave New York. Just we come up there on Sunday and just grab him there. I know that did they release him, or did they mutually say they're going to part ways?
It was a mutually parting of ways. It was,
but I don't think they dropped him, did they? They didn't drop him yet.
As far as I know, he's on the market now. He's on the market. From what they're saying.
I mean,
everything I've read
that is one of the things.
Matter of fact, they said they released him so he could catch on with the contender, quote unquote.
He is from Fox News. It says he is released.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So that means that he is available for pickup, and I would not be surprised to see the Eagles pick him up. Not at all. I mean, they have Rashad Penny that they never use. You have Dalvin Cook, who was on the Eagles list in the very beginning of the season, and he wound up going to the Jets because it was the money situation. This isn't going to be a money situation, and if you're going to rely on running the ball.
The Eagles, Swift, that's like your main running back, though, isn't it? Then you'll pick up
Swift is the main one.
Yeah.
But they use a number of backs in that backfield. So, I mean, it's usually Swift and Gainwell, and they get equal amount of carries. Now, Dalvin Cook is a little bit better blocker, I think, than Swift is. So, and that's going to come into play a little bit, specifically because you gotta have some extra protection back there with everything the way that they're going. But I mean, as of right now, the Eagles' defense is bend and break defense. It doesn't seem to work very much in the NFL.
The only reason I think Dalvin doesn't go to the Eagles is I feel like he would I don't know if he really wants to be in another crowded backfield. I think he would much rather go to San Fran and possibly be the backup to Christian McCaffrey, knowing that he's probably going to get more touches over there than what he would with the Eagles.
Yeah, but they have Edmonds over there too. They have Edmonds over there too, who's actually been a good
but
back.
I mean, how much they really use Edmonds?
Yeah,
I could see Miami making a play for him.
That's possible.
Well, that's true because most of it is out, but yeah.
I mean,
I think they really like Ashney, that Ashney guy, whatever. I think they really like him. I think they like what he's doing. So I don't know how much playing time he's going to get over there. I mean, how long is Mostert out? I know it's an ankle sprain I think he's dealing with. I mean, I don't think he's out completely.
No, but those are funny because they can limit carries.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And going straight into the playoffs, you got a guy that's been on a team and, is a serviceable back. He's just been in crowded rooms. So I think, like Miami, it would make sense because he would add stability to that running game, especially as they head into the playoffs. But the only place
Miami's got a lot of issues, man. You see all the injuries those guys have taken on? I think they're more concerned with that secondary than they are really that running back position. I mean, not that they don't have concerns there. I mean, obviously Waddle is still kind of hampering up a little bit. Tyreek just came off of his injury. That's the biggest thing. I saw Stephen A. saying he lost faith in Miami. Well, I guess I'd lose a little faith too if 4 or 5 year key players are down on injuries. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to be competitive when most of the guys that got you there are now either on the IR or questionable?
Well, to be fair, it's
How about not for nothing? And not for nothing, you might be able to answer this better, Jay. How about Dallas being in the market for Dalvin Cook? I mean, you haven't really had a lot of production out of your running back position at all.
Yeah, Pollard is doing well, but we still need that guy that 1-2 punch, and the two guys they got behind him, and Deuce Vaughn, and I can never say this guy's name right, Dribble or however you say that dude's name. He's got a weird last name, but they got some mediocre guys when it comes to behind Pollard, that can really take it that next step. So yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. And look, we lost at Zeke, and that kind of was our quote unquote thunder and lightning. So we kind of lost. We have our lightning, we just don't have our thunder. And if they want to bring in a Dalvin Cook and make that the thunder side of it, I'm not going to say no. I'd be okay with that.
I mean, it wouldn't be. Like I said, it's not the most ridiculous of things to think about going into the 16th week. Obviously, the fact that he has no time to really go. And learn another offense. It would have to be very, very basic. But he's got very fresh legs. He was underutilized all year long. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody picks him up.
The good thing is he'd have some time, right? As long as you don't get blown out in the wild card round or something, he'd at least have a couple of weeks to get acclimated to wherever it is he's going, right? Because if he gets picked up in the next day or two, obviously he's not available for this particular week, but you'd have this week, probably doesn't play in a wild card round or super limited if he does. And so you got a couple of weeks to kind of pick up what it is you're going to be. You're not the featured back no matter where you go. So, I think they can put him in a position of success, right? So him not necessarily being with the team all year, I don't know if that hurts him too much, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's going to be any teams that would be interested, like, for instance, Carolina, just picking him up so that nobody else gets him.
He'd have to want to do that, though. I think at this point, because he's released and free to do whatever he wants.
He's not going to do that. He already said he wants a contender. He's not going to go to Carolina. He's just not going to do that.
But if he's on the waiver market, right, like he has to pass through waivers, correct?
Not
That's
if he's
still a thing.
Yeah, I think once he's released, I think he can sign with anybody. I have not seen where he's going through waivers.
Yeah, no,
it's really didn't make that in any of the articles that I read anyway.
As far as I know, they handed him a bus pass that see you later, right? So, I mean, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And, I mean, if you're free to go wherever, then, obviously I'm going somewhere where I can try and win a ring if somebody's willing to pick me up.
Yeah,
I'm not going to Carolina.
If anybody is interested, like I said, I wouldn't go to Carolina either, obviously. But if you were in a waiver type scenario, I would absolutely try to pick him up because why have him go anywhere else?
Well, what is that really going to do? Even on that theory, what would that really do for Carolina?
Nothing.
I mean, Carolina, if anything, they're more of a rebuild. Why are you going to – they're not going to be competitive for a hot minute. Deuce is getting up in age. Why would I spend money on some guy that really has no bearing on my team one way or the other? That's just wasting money, in my opinion.
Well, especially because, as far as I know, he only had a 1-year deal there anyway, right? So you'd have to sign a new contract. So
right.
Why would you bring him in? He wouldn't be able to play this week. The season's over, right? If you're not a contender – you wouldn't get him this year anyway. So you're going to waste time in waivers. You're going to spend some money for a guy that probably walks off your team in the off season anyway. I don't see anybody doing that. Yeah. I mean, basically he's either going to land with a contender or he's going to watch on TV and not be on a team.
I think Pax was on the right nail. I think Eagles would be a good spot if they don't really believe in Swift 100%. I think, like you said, Dallas could make a good point. I think because of the injury issue right now, or the speculation of injury issue with McCaffrey, do you have 100% faith in him? Do you really want to take a chance going into the playoffs and have another Brock Purdy situation come up and take you out of everything that you just worked your way up for? So I think either of those three teams would be perfect for him, honestly. I think they could all three make the case.
Yeah.
God forbid. Could you imagine?
I would kind of agree with
that San Francisco gets back into the playoffs and the same deja vu hits them all over again. God, wouldn't that be amazing?
Well, we'll see. And then I wanted to ask you guys' opinion about Denver.
Oh, man. Talk about a dumpster fire.
I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying, so I only listened to half of what he says. Denver, what's going on in Denver with the coach? Russell Wilson versus the coach. What's happening? Obviously, the coach is probably going to win this battle, but what are your thoughts?
I don't think Sean Payton even wanted him. I think he just came into that situation and inherited him. And, I think Sean Payton knew that this is going to be a rebuild. This is going to have to be his team, and this is not his team right now. He came into the situation. He inherited what he got. It's going to take him a little while to sort through the mutter and get rid of, what he doesn't want and bring in what he does want, maybe through the draft or free agency, whatever. I think Russell Wilson is just the first guy to go so that he can rebuild what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen all season, really, since Peyton got there, is personality-wise, they're not a great fit, right? Like, whatever he says on the podium doesn't matter because what we've seen from the outside is Peyton doesn't seem to like the guy very much. So at this point, I mean, you knew it was going to fall apart, but man, they're in some kind of, in a sticky situation because they laid it out as you have to change your contract if you want to keep playing. And the NFLPA is now involved. So, it's a disaster moving forward, right? I mean, I guess the only thing
Bo, do you think Sean Payton knew that right up off the rip when he said, "Hey, yo, Russ, I need you to take your executive office and actually come and be a part of the team and come into the locker room." I think that was the first indication that this wasn't going to work out.
No, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, personality-wise, you just knew it wasn't going to be great. But, I mean, I guess on the plus side, going into the playoffs, the NFL is going to kind of put a lid on it because they don't want to distract from the playoffs and Super Bowl and all that. But as soon as the Super Bowl is done, they're just going to let this dumpster fire go because it keeps them in the media circus. And between this dumpster fire going and, the roughly 10 coaches that are all going to get fired, we're going to have a pretty busy off season to start because this is going to be fun to watch how the NFLPA and Russ try and go after the Broncos. But I mean, everything you've seen so far makes it look like Russ has taken his last snap in Denver.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think he would come back. I wouldn't want to come back.
Yep.
I mean, if I was Russ, I'd be like, see ya, with a nice salute of my middle finger in your face.
Broncos country, I'm gonna ride.
I've heard some language. It looks like Minnesota may try to pick up Russ. I wonder if that actually comes to fruition.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
because he does love to throw the long ball. Having Justin Jefferson wouldn't be terrible.
And Addison, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I don't know
that would work there. But I whatever, that would be a Minnesota thing to do. Get rid of Cousins, bring in another quarterback who's not going to win you anything, and that's because Russ's days are behind him. That's really the truth of the matter. And when the new ownership of the Broncos went ahead, I mean, obviously they worked out getting Russ to be able to get something excited for him, and then they brought in this coach, and they should have known right away.
It's going to be a Commander thing.
But you know what? Hey, there was a time when we thought Flacco's days were behind him. And look what he's doing out there with Cleveland. Oh, my God. It's like a resurgence of Flacco. Probably a better version of Flacco than what I saw out there in Baltimore. Quite honest with you. I mean, I don't know if it's the best thing behind him. I think if you go to a new situation, you get around the right group of guys, you get around the right coach, the right system, you can resurge it. Look, how many people thought Geno Smith was going to come back and like, I thought this dude was in a grocery cart in a grocery store somewhere.
I mean, if fit always matters, right? So, I mean, that definitely plays a role.
I don't know. I like Geno Smith. I think he was the beneficiary of a good system. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he's the beneficiary of a good system and a pretty good defense that's been able to hold its own. There's so many different jobs that could be won here with quarterbacks. Like there's, Murray's probably going to be going to a different team, and who's going to take over that contract? You're saying that there's going to be 10 coaches. You think 10 coaches that are going to wind up losing their jobs this offseason?
Probably.
Besides Carolina, obviously Carolina and Washington, both are very. What would you say the other 8 are?
So the Bears are likely.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, Eagles is definitely gone.
So the Chargers already did. The Raiders already did. New England is going to, right? They've already let that leak. So then you start running.
That's going out on my face. That's going out on my face by Bill Belichick.
Exactly. There's a really good chance that, the Falcons coach leaves, the Saints coach leaves, right? The Saints, you can't underachieve with the roster they had, right? Like they should have won that division going away, and they couldn't get it done, right?
I don't know if the Saints are going to quite do it yet. I still feel like they're somewhat competitive with the year before that. I think they give him a little bit more leeway, but I think he's on a short leash.
Yeah, I mean, so and then there's a couple of teams that could kind of go either way. Like Tampa may move on, So I mean, it's. I don't know. It's but you land right there around 8 to 10, right? I mean, so obviously Ron goes away, right? And so yeah. I mean, you basically end up with that 8 to 10, kind of a busy coaching, firing season coming up.
Well, and interestingly enough, the Rams. McVay said that he's going to stick around. He's going to run it back one more year. Right. That he needed to mention that. I mean, obviously, he was still under contract, by the way. So it's not like, he's like, oh, I'm going to retire. Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, I'm going to retire. Oh, no, I'm not. Like,
he's not retiring. He's still damn young. Why would he retire now? I mean, what's he in his late 40s?
Because he wants to go to another team. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean. But what team would he go to that he would have a better situation than what he has with the Rams? I mean, he's going to have to go to another rebuild team. Well, I wouldn't want to go to a rebuild team. I mean, I'd stay out there in L.A. and enjoy that money.
I don't know. If Chicago offered me, I'd go to Chicago, especially getting the number 1 pick in the draft via Carolina.
Sure.
Being able to get a second-round pick.
Well, I mean, and you're right. I mean, so Chicago does.
If you go to Chicago, say you're the coach and you go to Chicago, do you keep Fields or do you move on?
Hell no. I get his ass out. I don't like Ohio State quarterback. With the exception of Stroud, I don't like Ohio State quarterback, and I haven't liked Fields. The dude is nothing but run. He doesn't read the defense as well. He doesn't have as great of an arm. I don't like Fields. I don't think that's the guy I'm going to build around. If I had the first pick, I'm probably going to go after a Penix, who's a pro-ready guy. I could put him in there tomorrow, and he could run my offense. That's probably who I would go after if I want an immediate turnaround. If I don't, and I want to go for the talent, then you got Caleb Williams. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this draft that I would build around before I try to continuously build around Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that scenario, if you're going to go after Penix, then what, you trade back, you trade off that first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then you get more picks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could see that because, I mean, then you could shore up the offensive line, maybe get another weapon. Add some stuff on defense. I mean, I don't hate that idea. I'm not a big Fields guy. I feel like they haven't used him correctly, but and they haven't really given him much help. But then when you look at the rest of that organization, you're like, oh, no, this makes sense because they don't do anything well. I mean, even their stadium, they gave up $100,000 worth of equipment because somebody jumped a fence. So.
Exactly. I wouldn't do that either.
No,
you
definitely not.
Definitely don't. That's why you would trade back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally get that. And I think everybody else would get that. But I think you get him at a cheaper price. You get more picks. And you can really build a team around that. I mean, he's not going to be a runner. He don't need to be a runner. Have you seen when I watched him with the Texas game, I had a lot of issues about picks. I was like, I don't know, man. I ain't see. And when I watched that Texas game, and it crushed my heart to watch them lose that. But those throws and that placement of throws. Just calm down, Pat. You have a dog in a fight.
As a Husky fan,
right, I didn't think Texas belonged there. Actually, I think that actually, truth of the matter is that maybe Texas belonged there above Alabama. But the moment Alabama beat Georgia, and the fact that you guys beat Alabama in like the first week of the season, and I don't think that you guys deserve to be there, to be honest, in Texas.
I don't know how you say that. Because, no. That's the most accurate. That's the typical stuff. I had to clean up my verbiage. I want to say something else. But that's some typical stuff that Pags would say. Because ain't not a damn person in this world that would ever say that crap. Because you know what? Let me tell you something. 2 fumbles with turnovers and penalties. That's the only reason Washington beat us. The only reason. And you're going to tell me we don't deserve to be there? Did you even watch that game? Were you physically there? Or did you just read the stat line?
Oh, you're just crying now. You're just crying. Boo, hoo, hoo. This is prepping you. This is prepping you for when the Cowboys lose in the playoffs again, too. More crying. Listen, you're right. I didn't watch the game. It didn't matter. It would have been a great game. It may have been a great game. Truth of the matter is that I still felt that Georgia should have been there. And I think that Texas was the ones that should have been out. Or
you feel that doesn't mean you're right.
Florida State should have been there. Because
Florida State should not have been there.
Right? You guys lost to Oklahoma or Oklahoma State.
Florida State should not have been there. I think the Georgia game proved why Florida State shouldn't have been there.
Yeah,
the Georgia game. Yeah, because everybody opted out. Everybody opted out.
I think even if they don't opt out, even if they don't opt out, I don't think they had the right field general to get all the way. There was no way.
No, I think they still would have lost against Georgia even if everybody played. But it's funny because before the games were played, I was like, man, I hate this committee because they're holding teams out that should have been there. And then you watch them just get absolutely boat raced, and you're just like, well, okay, maybe that wasn't so bad. And then you see the championship games, and you're like, okay, they got the best 4 to play great games. Like they gave us the 2 best games for sure.
Right.
Whether you agree with who was in them, they were both awesome games.
They both were that. Yeah, obviously the scores even showed that they played both real strong. Obviously, Alabama's last play must have been called by the Eagles offensive coordinator because that was a ridiculous call. When I saw that last play, I'm like, damn, did he really call that? He might have really called that. It's just there was no chance he was going to make that touchdown. Are you kidding me? That's your last play of the game. That's how you're going to end your bid for the national championship.
Right.
And that was okay. That I tell you, and Nick Saban said that it was okay. He said that was all right. That was the play that you should have went with.
Yeah.
No chance. No
chance.
I
couldn't believe they went with the quarterback. When I saw that quarterback thing, I was like, is that – yeah, just like you said. I said, is that – going up the middle with the quarterback thing, is that really – come on, man.
And it's not like it was from the half-yard line, right?
No, he was like several yards out.
Yeah. No,
I think he was at least 6 or 7.
Yeah. No, that was one of those, like, I went back and replayed it. I'm like, did I really just see that? Like, why would you call that play?
Exactly. It was like ridiculous to think that even in the first place. But real quickly, I want to know, because I'm trying to find the actual game, if it was a real bowl or not. I couldn't even tell. I'm sure it was a real bowl game, but the bowl game, the Barstool Sports Bowl, when they were calling the game. Did you guys see that game?
No.
Or even hear about it?
Who was playing in it?
It might have been 2 teams that didn't really matter even a little bit. It might have been Toledo versus Wyoming. I don't know. But they were talking about, hey, like, when they were calling the game, they're like, this guy, he dropped the ball. This guy sucks.
Oh wow!
Like they were calling it like two guys who were watching the game would call a game. It was absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, the way
and it only comes from Barstool.
The way Barstool has gone, I'm surprised that it was even winning teams in this thing. Like,
it might not have been.
As little as they talk about sports, that should have been like the worst two teams in the league.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. Like I said, I didn't even realize they had a Barstool until you just mentioned that just now. I was like, what?
It was okay. So it was the Arizona Bowl. It was the 2023 Arizona Bowl, and the two combatants in this was Toledo versus Wyoming.
God, you were on point. You were on point with that one.
Wow. Nope.
Yeah.
It might come as a shock, but I did not watch that game.
Well, I tell you, if you could get some of the highlights from that and some of the way that they called that game, I think that you would laugh. Because they were talking about how they were like making bets on the air, I believe, on stuff like oh, I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to drop it, blah, blah, blah. It was just a very unique way to watch a game, as only Dave I'm not even a big fan of this guy, Dave Portnoy, but it's, got to respect what he's able to do. This one bite, he did pizza reviews, and all of a sudden he's, now getting to throw bowl games. So God bless him.
I always get a crack out of some of these bowls that really don't matter, and the names that that they assign to them. I can't remember half of them, but they just have some crazy names.
I mean, it's
a certain realm.
The Pop-Tart Bowl was hilarious.
There you go. Yeah, that's the one. I remember that one.
Like the the pregame production literally had a guy jump out of a toaster.
Right. Exactly. So Dylan Johnson being hurt. Now it says that he will probably play, and that X-rays were negative. Is that a big loss for Washington? If he's only at like 70%?
I mean, yeah. You want all your guys. Especially if you're going to go against the Michigan defense. I mean, Washington hasn't seen a defense quite as good as Michigan's. And at the same time, Michigan hasn't seen an offense quite as good as Washington. So I'm looking forward to this matchup just because it does happen to be strength against strength.
I agree with what you're saying. I think from a decoy perspective, let's be honest, man. If you look at Washington, their run game is almost decoy perspective. They're a throwing team. If you tell me one of their wide receivers, that I can't say that guy's name, but the one that thought number one in the country for speed, that something in A, whatever his name, Ashmungo or whatever his name is. If he was one of those guys, yeah, I would say that hurts. But we're talking about just a running back.
Well,
I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt, but that team is built on one thing and one thing only, and that's the speed of the wideouts, and that's the ability of Penix to put the ball where they can get it and the other guy can't. That's what that whole team is built around.
And I totally agree with that, but you need your running back because you need them to be able to respect that.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree.
So that's why I think it hurts. But it's not like you said. It's not like they lost one of their top receivers or anything like that. Because I mean, this team is all about passing, but they need their running back so that you have to respect that. Because otherwise, like if your running back goes down, now they get a drop or they get to bring in and essentially just play nickel, right? Rather than having that extra linebacker to come in and help stop the run up. Now all of a sudden, it becomes a lot harder to get those throws downfield because they just have some free roaming, coverage. So it definitely hurts, but it's not like their primary weapon, right?
I think, just the way Penix is able to see the field, the way his peripheral vision is. I mean, if you notice, this guy he's not a guy that gets sacked. He very rarely gets sacked. He has a good sense of the defense. And I mean, he's just an incredibly hard guy to sack. And he doesn't run a lot. He doesn't need to run a lot. Of course he can't, because, like you said, because of those surgeries.
Yeah.
But when you can throw the ball and place the ball like he has such a quick 1-2 step. He's so fluid in his mechanics. Again, like you said, that running back will hurt them a little bit, but I think as long as he's able to get on the field and just make it look like he's viable. In fact, I'm gonna talk the hell out of him out. I'm not gonna even downplay him, if I'm them, just so that they don't start game planning that way, and then just let your wide receivers burn everybody else out because they're a bunch of track stars over there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Do you think, all right, obviously you are a little bit more partial to this, so I'll ask Jay. Obviously, we're Monday away, so it's still early in the week. Early line is at 5.5, and I think it's 59.5 for.
I'd take the over on that.
Yeah,
59. I'm
55.5. 55.5 actually. So it's 4
Still
points less than what I just said.
Yeah, no, I'm taking the over.
Yeah. The part where I think Michigan is just going to beat the crap out of them, honestly, is going to be Corum. Blake Corum is going to be huge that game. Because the one thing you know about Washington is, as great as that offensive line is, as great as that whole team is, quite honestly, on the offensive side of it, they really do struggle a lot on the defensive side. And I will tell you, we didn't even have our top guy out there. Brooks was sidelined. We had Baxter, that other dude. And these are our second and third string running backs, and they were just carving them up. And I was even kind of telling my wife, I'm like, I don't understand why we're not running the ball more. Like, we should be carving the crap out of that because they can't stop the run. They couldn't. And we had our second, third string guys, and we're still carving them up. And I tell you what, you take a guy like Blake Corum and you do that, because they're going to control the clock. Just by running the ball, they're going to control the clock.
Yeah, well, it's funny. For Washington to win this game, they have to punch first. And they basically have to score every time. So for them to win, they need to take away the running game of Michigan, right? They got to make them play catch up the whole time.
And I don't think they could do that. They could have stopped Baxter. How are they going to stop Corum, which is even 10 times better than that guy?
Well, I think they could have applied that pressure if they didn't muff that punt and then you guys punch it in one play later. Right? If they were able to take that and drive down and score again, where they were up 21-7 instead of being tied at 14, I think they could have limited your ability to run the ball from that point. Right? But that mistake absolutely changed how that game would have played out. So if they can do something similar and play some mistake-free football, which you're going to have to do against Michigan anyway, right? So if you can play mistake-free football and you can come out and you can punch first, there's a chance that they can minimize that running game because, to your point, their defense isn't really equipped for that. Michigan is better, honestly, in both offense and defensive lines, right? The rest of the offense favors Washington, but the offensive line versus that defensive line, I don't know that they hold up. And on the other side, let's be honest, Washington doesn't have the best defense in the world. So this is going to be a game where it's either going to be a 35-31 Washington win, or it's going to be a 27-24 Michigan win because they were able to get the running game going and they're just carving them up and they can just barbecue the clock. So as a Washington fan, I want to see the Pac-12 win it all for the final time of being the Pac-12. I think that'd be cool. It's a fun storyline because you have a lot of history between Michigan and Washington. So I think that would be a fun storyline. But again, for Washington to win, they have to limit that running game immediately.
Well, I thought last time.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pax.
I'm sorry. When was the last time a team west of the Mississippi won a national championship?
I guess it was USC, right? It wasn't.
Well, Texas won it with Vince Young over USC, but that's been what, 2009? I mean, God, I don't know how long ago. That's been so long ago.
Yeah, I mean, for these two teams, the last time Michigan won one, I believe, was 97, and then for Washington, it was 91. So I mean, it's been a minute. But Pete Carroll's USC teams, they won two, right? So I mean, that's in the last decade, right? Because he's been with the Seahawks for, I guess, 12 years. So USC would have been, 13 years ago? Something like that, 13, 14 years ago. So, yeah. So, I mean, I guess then outside of that, yeah, no, I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, just I only reason why I asked that question seems like it's always Alabama or Georgia or Alabama or LSU or Alabama, and so
Well,
you know what I never hear of those any Texas teams. It was at TCU was there close. You guys were rooting on them last year, right there, McLovin.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were rooting them.
TCU was the last one. I mean, like I said, last time Texas won was when Vince Young beat USC Pete Carroll. That was the last time Texas was there. And Texas kind of went down for a while. Recruiting went down for a little while. We let go of Matt Brown. But I'll tell you, watch out now, baby, because we move into the SEC, and we got Arch Manning coming up behind Ewers. And those two running backs look good. So don't look past Texas, because I think we're going to be back in there. I know.
Didn't he enter the portal? Wasn't he interested in entering the portal?
He was, but I guarantee he's not now. He's already committed to you. Or he's already said he's going to stay with Texas. But yes, there was a time. There was a time when I think that was right about the time when they put Malik Murphy in when Ewers went down, and I think that pissed off Archie, and I think he was saying that. But now that they've got him as a second string, and I of course, it depends on what Ewers does. I think Ewers is probably going to come back one more. I don't know if he's going to quite go in the draft. I don't think. Yeah, so he probably has to ride the pine one more time. But I wouldn't even be surprised if Archie competes for it. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he wants to play, and he's getting paid more than right now, more than half of a couple of the quarterbacks that are in the NFL. Starting in the NFL.
They're making that cash flow. Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you get pissed off if you were making that much money and just chilling out and relaxing?
I'm just
saying. I mean, your body's
to a certain extent, I would, because it's an ego thing. It becomes ego-driven.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like when you're making $2.8 million in the NIL and you're on the bench. Like, hey, I'm supposed to be getting groomed for the NFL here. So you're supposed to be using me. If you ain't using me, I'll go somewhere that will use me. I know that there's some place in Colorado that would probably love to have me over there.
Oh, no. That means Shadur's got to give the Rolls Royce. That ain't happening.
Nah, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't lace them up to not play.
Hey, let me tell you something. Dion will lose a pinky toe before that happens, okay?
Shit.
Well, he lost the whole leg. So,
oh man,
he's one leg short at the moment.
No, I don't. I firmly believe that Arch is going to play for Texas at some point. I think he's going to play.
Well, I'm sorry, at some point, that's the problem. I get
it. Hey, I'm right there with you. I mean, is it really a bad problem for Texas to have? I mean, Quinn Ewers at one time was the number one prospect in the country. I think he went to Ohio, and then he wound up coming to Texas in the portal. So it's not like Texas is hurting for quarterbacks right now. That's my point. My point isn't like who's going to be the quarterback. My point is that Texas is really, under Sarkisian, and especially going to the SEC where everybody wants to be. They're going to be a force. I really believe they're going to be a force, and I think Georgia's going to slide down. I think Bama's going to slide down because, like you said, the NIL or the portal, this NIL money is just killing everything. Everything. It doesn't even matter if you get the top recruiting class. It only matters how you do in the portal.
Yeah, the thing that's funny about the portal is I don't love that you can enter the portal during the season.
Yeah,
like that is something that has to change. Like how weird. I don't know. I don't love that. I don't love that.
Well, what is that rule?
I'm going to enter the portal because I don't want to be here next year. I want to play for another team. And you're telling all your teammates, I want to play for another team. Well, if I was a quarterback, I wouldn't want to block for you anymore.
Right?
What did Matt Rule say? Matt Rule said out there in Nebraska, you got to pay about $2 or $3 million if you want to get you a good quarterback these days.
$1 to $2 million. It's $1 to $2 million right now to get a good quarterback. So, and he's right.
The way of the future. Right. Which is really making college football nothing more than a minor league system for the NFL. Really.
I mean, that's all it was anyway. So you might as well just stop.
You're right.
Just stop with the amateurism. Pay the guys. Call it a day.
I'm all about paying them. I mean, because damn good and well the universities are getting paid.
Yeah,
all for blood and sweat.
They got plenty of money.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. They all got money.
When you have $1 billion, TV contract that you split in between, 10 schools, 15 schools, whatever, I feel like you can probably just go ahead and pay these guys and stop pretending that it's not professional sports at this point.
I mean, hell, what? Harbaugh just got $125 million to be the coach at Michigan. I mean, that
He
ain't
didn't sign yet, did he? He didn't sign it yet, did he?
Not that I know of.
No,
It's not signed yet.
because they said if he does that, he's not allowed to talk to any NFL, and I don't think he's going to do that. I think Harbaugh still wants to come back to the NFL at some point and try to make it happen.
I think it really comes on Monday, which is why he hasn't signed it. I bet if he wins the title and then looks at the possible NCAA sanctions that they've been throwing around, potentially, suspending him all of next season, right? So if you win the championship and then you were already not going to get a coach next year anyway, then you don't sign. You go on to the NFL and you say, hey, I got a ring. Let's try and win one here. But if you lose, maybe you try and run it back. Although he is going to lose half his team to the draft this year. So, I mean, this does feel like you have to win right now.
Yeah. Because if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm like, hey, little bro, that's nice. That little NCAA ring there, that's pretty nice. But why don't you get your Super Bowl ring?
Right. Yep. Got a pair of them. One on you, actually.
Exactly. Exactly.
Talk about beating up on your little brother. You'd be like,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's got to be some family dinners, that are a little bitter right? Sweet over there.
That NFC championship ring's cute. Yeah, you should try one of these Super Bowl rings.
It's so cute. It's so small.
Just a little guy.
So, anyways, that seems like a good segue. I want to do some. As this is going to be called our water cooler talk. So I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to show you a picture, and then we're going to talk about it for a minute. First picture coming up here is this guy right here. David Tepper. David Tepper.
Yep.
David Tepper is fined $300,000 for his actions unbecoming an owner. Thoughts?
I mean, so he's worth what, like 20 billion, something like that? Is that
Probably.
roughly about right? So 300K is like a value meal for us, right?
He's going to spit that on my bottle of liquor last night. What are we talking about?
I feel like it doesn't matter really, but at the end of the day, it was a funny video. It would be one thing if that went to the fan that he threw the drink on, like that would probably be life changing for that person. But 300K from a multi-billionaire, that's a rounding error for that guy. So I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, he's like, that's my tax bill,
right?
Or a third of my tax bill, whatever.
Well, the thing is that I think, I agree, $300,000 isn't enough money, but you can't really fine him any more than that because you can't fine him $1 billion. It's not
the USA. We can do what we want.
That's right. No, but if it would have been like $1 million or something like that, and there should have been something like to the fan, because who cares about paying a $300,000 fine to the NFL? Like, who cares? They already print money downstairs anyway. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, give it to the fan that he chucked a drink at. Like,
but where do you really hurt him? But where do you really hurt him? So I think you get the fine. The fine has to be there. You give it to the fan. I'm all for that. But then I think you got to start talking draft picks too. Look, man, if you're going to do some stupid shit like this, we're going to start finding the draft picks.
I mean, they already don't have any.
Something's going to hurt the team, right? The owner of the team?
Well, the thing is, they already gave away their draft picks, and their team is terrible.
Well, so that's true. They did. So,
and not only that, there's been. They're the only team ever in NFL history to have 4 head coaches in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
Between the interims, and the regular coaches, literally 4 head coaches. So, and from what I understand, he was the one who chose the quarterback, not Frank Reich. Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud And he's like, no, I want CJ Stroud. And they're like, no, we want this kid. We want this kid. Well, guess what? You get what you deserve. And, you know,
yeah.
So, and if you were a coach, would you want to go to that team?
God, no.
God, no. I wouldn't want to go to any team that I didn't have some sort of say-so who my personnel was going to be. Yeah. Because then you're just writing my own death certificate. No, I'm good.
Well, besides, you're like that team specifically, right? You're going to go to a meddling owner, right? You're going to go to a team that has a quarterback that realistically is probably going to get hurt in this league, who also has bad offensive line play, no real weapons, and a very average defense. And you pair that with no real draft picks. On what planet do you want this job? Like, you're going to get in there and fail hard, and not because you're a bad coach, because you just don't have personnel and you have no way to get it. So that's a job that I don't think would be attractive to anybody. Like, you'd have to go into that, have the meeting with the owner and be like, look, this is going to take years.
Right.
Like, you burn this thing to the ground. You've implemented 4 different systems in 2 years. Nobody has any idea what's going on. So at this point, whatever we do next year is just trying to, like, rebuild framework. Like, we're not trying to win games. We're just trying not to sink.
Right. Right. You know, and I think the two most important people, you know, you got to have a good GM and a good coach, you know, because sometimes being a great coach doesn't mean that you draft the right people either, because I think you can go look at Belichick and see some of that, right? I just think you have to be, you know, a coach needs to say, look, this is my system. This is what I want to run. This is the type of players that I'm looking for. And then the GM will go out and make the right deals to make that happen. You know, you have to have a certain system in place to make that happen.
No, I agree. And as bad as that team is, like, that's going to take time. Even if you have the 2 right guys in there.
Right. You
don't have the tools to move forward. So you're going to have to, like, take time just to acquire the tools to then finally build something. So this is going to be a bad scenario for years to come. And you feel bad for Bryce, because I feel like this is definitely one of those fit situations. He could have had way more success somewhere else. This is one where he's probably going to have one of the worst starts to a career, and he's probably just hoping he can get out from under this team.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody knows, and that's what I say, you know, I don't like owners that try to meddle into football operational stuff. I mean, everybody knows the Cowboys are the worst at that. I mean, Jerry's the worst at that. Jerry got lucky when he brought in Jimmy Johnson, and that was the best thing that ever happened to Jerry. The problem was Jerry then wanted more control, and then those two battle heads, and of course Jimmy left, and then, you know, we got what we got after that. I think you have a good owner has to have smart people around him. That's why you get a good general manager, you get a good coach. You let those guys run your team, and you just take care of your bottom line. Take a prices, whatever you want to do. But you put the right people in place, and you let them make the decisions. And, you know, not that you don't have a little bit, but why is an owner trying to pretend that they could do something that they really don't have any business doing?
I mean, to be fair, Jerry Jones does actually okay in the draft. Like, draft-wise, he gets talent. He just can never get the talent to work together on the field. Certainly not consistently. But, I mean, on draft day, Jerry Jones actually isn't horrible. I mean, especially when you look at other owners, the way they jump in, and you're just like, oh, cool, you just got a guy that makes no sense. Like, Jerry actually brings in pretty good talent. It just, for whatever reason, can never seem to get it done on the field consistently.
Well, that, and I was never a big fan of Kellen Moore or Jason Garrett. I thought those two guys really set us back a long time. I mean, look, you get rid of Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, they bring in Shanahan, and all of a sudden our offense looks 10 times better. And you're looking over to San Diego Chargers, and they're over there just sucking wind. You know what I mean? I was like, you did at least one thing right.
You didn't love Captain Clapp? What are you talking about?
Oh, man, bro.
8-8, here we go.
I thought Wade Phillips did a pretty good job, but then when Jason Garrett got a hold of the team, man, we just went.
Exactly. All right. Thing number 2 to talk about at the water cooler. Here's the picture. Colors of the Super Bowl logos. Conspiracy theory or fact?
Oh man, script writers are loving this. Got them tinfoil hats ready. They're like, it's predetermined. I mean, that image sadly isn't wrong though. There's probably going to be the two in there.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anybody who's got a chance to really take over San Francisco unless you catch them at like really rusty after 2 weeks off. Like that's
Or
the
they
one
get
thing I can think of.
Right, if they get injured, same thing. But yeah, I mean that looks pretty accurate. Baltimore looks like the strongest team in the AFC also. So I mean that's probably how it's going to go down. It is funny that those colors match. And yeah, all the conspiracy theorists, they're going to be like, "Look, I told you, the Earth is flat too."
So I've seen a leaked picture of Super Bowl 59. I wasn't able to get it for this show. However, the colors are purple and green. Sounds like the Eagles will be making a comeback, and they'll be playing against the Ravens next year in the Super Bowl.
So that was my
New
pick
Orleans.
this year. That was my pick this year. Was Eagles Ravens Super Bowl.
And so it's possible. It's very possible that if everything holds true. So is it a conspiracy theory or is it fact?
Well, it sounds like it if the Eagles are in there and it's purple and the Ravens are in there.
You know what it's going to be, though? It's going to be like the best script writing ever. It's going to be Minnesota and the Jets.
That's the other way. That's the other way it could go.
I mean, this has WWE written all over it.
Right?
So, right. And then, of course, the third thing to discuss, this is a little bit of a video. You guys are going to wind up having to watch this. This is coming direct from our cohorts that are on ESPN. So I have to give a shout out to the Pat McAfee show. They gave us permission. They said they would not sue us since we won't sue them.
This has something to do with the Epstein list that came out.
Feels like
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar.
Yeah.
I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right. Obviously, a clip from this particular program was run on Jimmy Kimmel's show whenever Aaron brought up the list, and then Jimmy mocked him for it. Mm-hmm. Aaron has not forgotten about that, but here we are sitting right in front of that nice bottle of scotch. Mm-hmm. What do you say? I'm waiting to celebrate something.
Oh, yeah.
Something awesome. He's been waiting
That's
for
the one.
You've been waiting.
Hey, I'll tell you what, if that list comes out, I definitely will be popping some sort of bottle.
I mean, definitely stuff for the water cooler there, right there. Thank you to Pat McAfee for allowing us to use that clip.
That is fantastic. There's no doubt in my mind people wants to sue him after that, though.
Well, yeah, he did. But this has been going back and forth with Jimmy Kimmel and Aaron Rodgers. This is actually has a little bit of a history, so it makes it interesting to hear that and see that. And it's funny that the funny man Jimmy Kimmel can't take the joke. He can dish him out.
Oh, no.
I can't take him.
No, we don't heckle the comedians. We leave them alone, right? Come on.
Yeah, and that's soft. That's very soft. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you put my family in danger."
In what?
Shut up! Shut up!
If your life comes down to that, you really have issues.
Right?
That's what he said. He puts his family in danger, and if you want to keep on talking, we'll bring it up in court. Wait, don't tell me that I've been on that list. Yeah, that's such a wuss move there, Jimmy. Just come back and battle and be like, you could have said, "Hey, I got the book. Aaron Rodgers right up at the top." You could have turned the joke on him, but no, you decided to be a weenie. You decided to be a weenie and cry a little bit, like all the Cowboys fans. Every time they're
Hey, whoa!
they're crying all the time.
So, the thing that's funny, he was on Pat McAfee's show. He should have just taken a page out of his book and be like, sorry, I meant allegedly Jimmy Kimmel is.
And Aaron Rodgers doesn't do any of that stuff. He doesn't care. Like, oh, you're going to sue me? All right, there, Jimmy. Let's go back and forth on this one, because I can imagine that there is enough to go back and forth. It would be a suit countersuit type of situation. So,
yeah,
Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, exactly. And
quote unquote, most comedians that do those kinds of shows, like the Fallons, the Kimmels, and all, you would think they'd have a much better comeback than that. I mean, I would expect more from him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would have thought so too, but nope, soft, very soft. So, but that's our water cooler talk for right now. We are at the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be back here in just under 2 minutes for the second half of our show, Coast to Coast. See you in a few seconds.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, from Brooklyn.
Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we're back for the second half of our show, Coast to Coast, with Bo, McLovin, and Pags all in the same spot. Yeah, we ended with some crying from a Cowboys fan because we already know that they're about out of the playoffs already. So, but we're going to show.
I have one question. Before we go any further, I had an emergency question coming from one of my commenters on my show yesterday, and I did say that when I was talking to you today, I would bring that question up. And the question was this: when you lost to the Cardinals the other day, how did you feel?
I'll give you a full honest answer. I felt that. Listen, I don't get paid money to go to these games in a real sense. Like, the team doesn't pay me any money. So when we lose, I don't wear those losses on my sleeve. Like, it doesn't affect how I go about my day. However, afterwards, I gave a full 2-minute talk about how frustrating a loss that was. That was absolutely ridiculous and frustrating. And like I said, I don't get paid money to be a coach. But when I can tell what the play's about to be, that means that the defense can tell what the play's about to be. And that means they're going to stop it. And when I start coaching the team better, or I'm able to coach the defense better than our offense is, then I've got a problem with that. Because there's a lot of people making a lot of money that should absolutely be, better at their job.
Absolutely.
So,
and the follow-up question to that was, I had to, because it was a follow-up question. They wanted to know, how bad is your neck hurting right now, looking up at me in the standings?
Oh, man.
I just wonder, do you have a crick right now? Do you need a little neck rub?
Yeah, you better hope that you beat Washington by a certain amount of points. You got to beat Washington by a certain amount of points.
Don't worry about it. We got you a conference.
If you don't beat them by a certain amount of points, you actually fall out.
I don't think so because we're having the conference standings.
Yeah.
I thought we were even on all of it, but we might be wrong.
Okay, well, there you go. See, because you're not looking down, you're having to look up right now, and it's hurting you. It's okay.
But it wouldn't be surprising to me to watch the Cowboys poop the bed and lose.
It wouldn't surprise me either. That is our history. I just want to know for right now, how was it if your neck was okay? I just want to know if your neck was okay.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure your neck was all right most of the season because you were looking up us all season long, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how you start, it matters how you finish. And I'm on that.
On his phone number.
I'm on that. So don't worry. We'll get to see each other again if you guys make it past the first round. So that being said, these are the clinched playoff spots that have already been decided. Obviously, the Ravens and the 49ers are the number one seeds going into this. I think last year was the first year in maybe 20-some years that both number one seeds made it to the Super Bowl. That typically the number one seeds do not make it, both of them on both sides. So it'll be interesting to see if that can do the same thing over again. But obviously you got the Dolphins in the number 2 spot, the Chiefs in the number 3 spots, and the Browns in the number 5 spot right now. They can't go down. They can't become a number 6 seed or whatever, or I guess they could, depending on what happens with the Bills, because the Dolphins could become the number 5 seed. Browns could go down.
So basically how the graphic lays out is they've clinched a spot no matter what. Now, they may drop down to the 6th spot, but they're in no matter what.
Right. And it could be that the Dolphins go from 2 to 6, and the Bills wind up in the number 2 spot.
That to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the Bills are winning in, losing out. Like they are that.
I think there's a scenario where even if they lose, they could get help to get in. But yeah, win and they're in. Win and they get the division.
Question is, Von Miller, is he able to play now? I know he's going through some assault charges. I think he's healthy now, but is he going to be allowed to play, or is he still on the outside?
Yeah, no, he's been playing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a weird situation. It sounds like the charges were dropped. There's going to be an investigation, but it sounds like anything that might come down from the NFL would be next season.
Okay. Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
Right?
You know what I mean? It's like, if that was any Eagle or Cowboy, I'm sure they would have been knocked out right away. They'd have been, hold on, guys. Nope, you guys can't play. Like Big Dom. Big Dom didn't have anything to do, and he was off the field for all that time. So, which will be fine because he was 10-1 when he was on the field, or 10-2 when he was on the field. So the fact that he hasn't been on these field, we've been on this losing streak. It's all right. Dom will be back for the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, or the Lions, right? Like they love sanctioning those guys. They knew somebody that did some gambling. Done for the year.
Yeah, like what? I think 4 of them, right? Was it 4 wide receivers that were done?
Yeah, and some staffers, and I mean, like they got hammered early in the season.
Right. Well, no, that was even before the season even began. Yeah. That was before like even practices began. They were out. So, and on the NFC side, obviously we got the 49ers 1, Cowboys 2, Lions 3. Whoever's going to win that, it's either going to be Tampa Bay or New Orleans or Atlanta. I mean, it could be any one of those. We know that Carolina is not going to win the division. And then, of course, Eagles are in the 5 spot, Rams 6, and the number 7 spot could be Seattle, could be Green Bay. I mean, Seattle fans are definitely Bears fans this week. You know, they're trying everything they can. They're trying to make sure that the Bears do whatever they can to win. So they're sending them all these I've heard the fans actually sending them gift baskets and whatever, saying, "Hey, please take care of business for us, and we will give you much, a lot of presents if you guys win."
Absolutely.
But Green Bay's on a little bit of a high right now, so. And obviously, these are the teams that are looking to still get in right now. 4-7 of the Packers. Like I said, Seattle is in the mix there. I guess Minnesota is still in the mix there a little bit. Minnesota could be one of those teams that
they can't because of that first loss with the Lions. Basically, the Vikings would have had to win out. So that first loss with the Vikings. The first loss against the Lions basically took them down. No, I take that back. I think
Minnesota's still mathematically in, but it's a small percentage.
So that'll be these guys. These are all the ones outside looking in. So that's right. They have to win, and then they need a ton of help.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that the chances of them getting in would be almost slim to none, even though they have a mathematical chance.
Yeah, because this is if they win, they have a 9% chance. So they need a lot of people to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need the Seahawks and Green Bay. You need both Green Bay and the Seahawks to lose, and the Saints to lose, and the Saints to lose.
Exactly.
So,
in fact, they may even need Tampa to take an L.
Tampa would need to take the win. Because if Tampa loses and the Seahawks lose and Green Bay loses, then Tampa's in.
Yep.
So they need Tampa to lose, the Saints to win the division, and the Seahawks and Packers both to lose.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a lot of help.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think that's absolutely going to be. Tampa's probably going to win that game. They're going up against Carolina. Carolina's already checked out. They are definitely going to go. Yeah, and here you got all these people saying, "Hey, that they are already rooting for the Bears. That you're going to have a big Seattle." So a big Seattle contingent in Green Bay this week, rooting against the Packers. So. Thank you for stopping in, saying hello. I appreciate it. So, anyways, jumping off of football, not jumping off of football because I've got a little bit more to say. So, do you guys? I assume you guys both play fantasy football. Do you not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have been playing for 20-some years.
All right.
I have never won a championship.
Okay.
Until this year. This year I won my first championship ever. And I tell you, I'm surprised that with the team that I have that I was able to win it.
Literally, when I saw that on Facebook when you put that on there, and it was so crazy. I said, Melanie, it's my wife, Mel. I said, Mel, look at Pags. Look how happy he is. Look, he actually won one time.
Exactly, because I never win. I suck at fantasy football. And mostly because I suck because I will sometimes forget to set my lineup. I will do the things, it's just like I'm busy with games and such. And there are just times when I'm always late to the pick up waivers and stuff like that. So anybody who was any bit good is already picked up, even though I may have had the top waiver spot. It's been that. So this year I only missed my lineup one time, and it was during a week where I had a lot of people on bye anyways. So it kind of worked out, that I really couldn't make any major changes. But the fact that I was able to win.
In this league, what was your draft position?
Out of 12, I think I was in the 7 spot. No. It was out of 12, I was in the 10 spot.
Nice. Yeah. I always say that's why I like to draft. I either like to be number 2 or even number 12 because then you get those quick wraparounds. So you can almost get that 2 for 1.
Yeah,
right.
I hate being in the middle because if you're in the middle, oh man, it's just so hard to build a good roster when you're sitting at like around 7 or 8 or even 6.
The one I played in, we had 16, and I was last.
Oh, Jesus.
And so, needless to say, I didn't have a great draft. Plus, it was one where it was around the clock. So, like, half of my stuff auto-drafted. And then I proceeded to lose 5 quarterbacks through the season. So, as you can imagine, did not have a great season. But still somehow managed 10th, right? Which surprised me because I thought for sure I was going to get that toilet bowl trophy with 5 different quarterbacks, 4 different receivers, and 3 different running backs. It's like, this is probably not my year.
Yeah. We did that last year with Unscripted. We did a 20-team league just to see how it would go. And that was hard. Like, but I will tell you this. You at least one time in your life play a 20-team league. Does it really get you to hone in on how to get really good at waiver wire pickups? So when you go back to that 12-team league, you're really good at picking those guys out and stuff. Because it really does. I mean, it's damn hard. It is.
I had one transaction.
Yeah.
one successful transaction because I didn't have anybody wanted.
Yeah.
Well, no, and I tell you, I'll be honest. My running backs were weak. I had good wide receivers. I mean, I was Evans was great for me all year long for the most part, except against the Saints, which I actually pulled him out for that game because I didn't think that he would do well. St. Brown, great receiver all year long, got lots of points for me. I got the guy from Chicago who would be off and on. But my receivers were real big. My running backs were horrible. I had Bijan, who was good, sometimes. And who was my other running back? My other running back was actually worthwhile. So I did have a good starting running back, but my second running back would go back and forth. And then I had the backup to, CMC, which did me absolutely nothing. And then we have 2 flex positions, but you can't use we have 2 running backs and 2 receivers that you use in major positions, but the 2 flex positions, you can't ever have 4 of anything. So my flex position was so bad in running back, I had to use a tight end most of the time.
That's
where Taysom Hill kind of fits pretty well.
Yeah, and like this was a rough year for me fantasy wise. I've never drafted one. I've never. This year I drafted one, and I don't know. There's a curse on that number 1 spot. I don't care what anybody says. I drafted Chubb, goes down. That horrible injury. I got Rajon Stevenson, goes down with injury. Everybody that I would draft, I swear to God, everybody in my initial what I drafted all went down with injuries. And everybody I had replaced them goes down with injuries, and I'm like. Yeah, I just couldn't. I couldn't win this season alone. My team was damn near by the time the last game of the season. It was 100% waiver wire. Even because I had Cousins, and Cousins went down with that injury. I mean, I threw in the towel. But yes, it was a rough year. I'm hoping next year's better. And I told him if I'm number 1, I'm not playing.
Well, I was excited to get my first trophy. Like I said, I started this league 20 years ago, and I always bring up we have the Horse's End trophy where we would actually have a reverse for the people that don't make it into the playoffs. We have a reverse, so you have to set up your lineup. And if you set up your lineup and you lose, you continue forward. So that's how that tournament would go. So if you lose out, you get the horse's ass.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, you guys are gonna have to be my league next year. Bo, I got to get you in, Pags. I got to get you on next year's league. I will not take no for an answer. And we have a really nice trophy. We do like the belt, like we got the championship belt. That's pretty badass. I love it.
Nice.
Right on.
But all right, cool. So now I'm done talking football for a little bit. I want to share with you guys something. I know that there's not a lot of basketball in Seattle, and with the ownership change in Dallas, I don't even know if you're a Mavericks fan or a San Antonio Spurs fan. Spurs actually stink right now, so I figured, you're a Rockets fan. And actually, interestingly enough, the Rockets are one of my picks this week. So
nice.
I have a system, and I will tell you that as of right now, my system used so far this year has been 15-7.
Okay.
So out of 22, I've won 15. So this system is a great system. I won't tell you the system, but I will tell you my picks for this week, and you can decide whether you think it's a good pick or not. Let me pull up who they're playing against because I only have the picks written down, not the. All right. So for today, there we go. My first pick is the Knicks. They are -9.5 up against. Who are they going up against?
A college team?
The Bulls. The Bulls. Yeah. Well, which is kind of like a college team.
They just got what was it, Anabui or whatever they got from Toronto. They just pulled off that trade, which I thought was a good trade.
And actually, the Rockets line came down a little bit. I had it at -5.5. It's now down to 4.5. So the Knicks, the Rockets -4.5, the Timberwolves -6.5, Toronto money line because you're getting points there. You don't need them. They're gonna win that game outright. And then Sacramento, who is -4.5. 5 picks. I don't normally have 5 teams fit in my system, but these 5 teams absolutely fit in my system, and we're going to keep track of them from here on out. So I got Knicks, Rockets, Timberwolves, Toronto, and Sacramento for my picks this week. Or today, because tomorrow there's going to be new picks for this. Because if they fit in the system, sometimes I have picks. Sometimes there's no teams that fit into the system. But so if you guys want to make some money, let me know how much money you make. I typically tell people to do, I like to do round robins. So, but with 5 teams, that's a lot of money. So, I mean, a $5 parlay for a 2-team parlay is $12, right? Something like that. That's how much you would win.
Yeah, that's about right.
You're dealing with the line. So, I mean, that would be a lot of, one team missing out would still be a big, big payday because when you're doing a 5-team parlay, one of them with a money line bet, and you're probably a plus 110 on that it's -1.5, or it'd be a plus 1.5. So I figure it's a plus 110 for that.
Yeah.
So book it. I'll actually have my video out for this a little bit later, but I'm excited. Last time I picked 4 teams, all 4 teams hit.
Nice.
So this is 5 teams. 5 teams. I just get nervous with the Knicks because the Knicks like to choke at the end.
Yeah, but I'm not a big. This Bulls team is not my cup of tea, so I definitely think the Knicks should be able to take that one.
Well, and the Bulls lost by 13 points yesterday to the Sixers. What was that line? I didn't even see the line. Well, that was 9.5. So the Sixers did cover at 13. So that's kind of part of the thing.
Yeah.
That's why the line's as low as it is for the Knicks, because they realize it's the Knicks.
Right. Well, the Knicks have screwed me up a couple of times already. The Knicks twice. I one time that was like a last-second bucket that had no bearing whatsoever. Like the guy just shot it, I think, from like half court and made it, and then they had to go back to the timer to make sure he got it, and they wound up only. I think the Knicks only won by 12 points instead of 15 points, and they were like a 13.5 point favorite. So that's called the bad beats.
Gotta love a garbage time point to mess up your cover.
Right. So, but that's one of the losses that I absolutely have out of the 15-7. So out of the 22, this is, like I said, I don't normally have 5 teams that go into my system here. But do you guys have any systems in terms of how you guys do things? Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna bet.
any
My wife
gambling?
tells me no. That's
What's
pretty
that?
much.
Say again?
I want to make a bet. My wife tells me no.
Oh,
Not
that's
with our money. No system.
Got ya.
No systems, man. But I like how you guys are doing. I'm always trying to learn that because there is such a science to betting, right? With all the lines and I mean, it's such a lot of research that goes into what that whole process.
Yeah.
Well, my system is very, very simple. Last year, I did my system, and I was only doing it to people that I would tell. I would check it out when people would ask me, like, who should I bet today? And I would give them a game. And last year, my went 42-6.
Okay.
My picks.
Damn.
So the fact that I've lost 7 so far this year makes me realize, like I said, a couple of them were bad beats, at the last second, but I'm also keeping more of a track of things. There's a lot more of these games that will occur. Like I said, today's being 5. There's a lot more of these games that happen further as the season goes on. So, and then you can't really do it for the first 10 and the last 10 games of the season because things get weird then.
Sure.
It's like you can't bet pro football games in the first 2 and the last 2 weeks of the season.
Not consistently, for sure.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I would assume a lot of that's because of injuries and because people may be sitting out to preserve injuries because of already having a position secured or what have you. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, like for Pick'em, right? This is the final week to try and win that championship, and that's going to be really interesting, right? Because you got teams that are going to be resting guys, you got people that are hurt, so it's always one of the tougher weeks. So if you are a game ahead, a game behind, something like that, this is a week where you can have some big swings that can either win or lose you that championship. So I don't have a system per se, but I pick teams based on matchups and, because I watch all of the games, kind of the eye test of where it is I think they are. And so last year I won our Pick'em championship, and this year I'm sitting at 164-92. So I mean, it's not terrible.
Bad.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in.
Is that what point spreads?
No, this is straight up. This is straight up. I have been tracking that, but I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Yeah, as you noticed, we've had a ticker.
What's that?
I've been doing the ticker underneath.
It's not 42-6.
That is not.
That really is an impressive track record. I don't think I could do that well. I mean, honestly, it's like, wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
for James,
if you're winning 42 and you only lose those 6, you're going to walk away with a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah,
so we don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Actually, the line says no, he's not playing. That's what the line says. They got the Steelers up. The Steelers as a 3-point favorite over Baltimore in Baltimore. That tells me he's not playing.
That does.
So could that line change tremendously? Absolutely. But I don't see it. I think that you keep him out specifically. I imagine the 49ers, they got Brock Purdy is not going to be playing this game. So it's CMC's out. Yet they're still favored, interestingly enough. The 49ers are still favored even with Brock and CMC out.
So that means Darnold's going to get to go then, right, for San Fran?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Darnold can still win a game.
Yeah, I mean, especially with as much it's going on. With, like I said, the Rams are in this, so I got to imagine the Rams may rest some guys or just play like a quarter or a half just to be able to get some play time and what have you. If I was the Eagles, I would rest our guys. There's no sense in trying to – what do you try to do? You try to – I guess maybe if you see that Washington is up by 21 at halftime, you may try to go for the win there to see if you can get the number 2 seed back because that's what would occur if that was the case. If we win because Dallas did beat Detroit, that we would be able to get back in the 2nd seed. If we win and it doesn't matter what Detroit does and Dallas loses.
But
Are you guys playing at the same time, or does Dallas play first?
yes, both 4:00, 4:25 games.
So you almost have to play it out because you don't get a scoreboard watch.
Yeah, but I that's why I say I wouldn't even bother. I'm like, I'm not playing my guys. They need to figure it out. So they better be doing resting up and doing walkthroughs. They better be figuring out their plays from here on out. That's why this Dalvin Cook thing is even interesting to me, because the one thing that I feel like that the Eagles could start to rely on, that everything that they've done in the last 5 weeks could all be a farce for the fact that they're going to just run the ball in the playoffs. And that they were passing the ball so often to give the running backs rest and not kill Swift.
Yeah.
If you give them another running back to be able to use Dalvin Cook and he gets a little bit ahead of steam, it wouldn't be a big surprise for us to see get past the first round of the playoffs and then try to manage the clock with whoever we're playing, Dallas or the 49ers. Because that's the only way we're going to beat either one of those teams. Because the defense right now can't stop anything.
Yeah.
They can't stop water with a closed faucet. So
man.
Yeah, the as I heard last night that I had to use earlier in the show, the bend to end break defense doesn't work in the NFL.
Certainly not against a team like the Cowboys and the Niners.
Or the Cardinals.
Or the Cardinals.
So,
I don't know where that Cardinals team come from. They lose everybody else, but for some reason, there's a few games in there they can pick them out.
Well, early in the season, I thought that was going to be a tough game for Dallas, just because Gannon did know Dallas pretty well.
Yeah,
and when you look at that, you kind of prepared himself to be able to do that, and you guys didn't bring your A game. And ultimately, you can't sleepwalk through any team in the NFL.
True.
And clearly he knows Philly.
Well, obviously he knew Philly, but there is such a. I guess it is like you have to say that there may be some dissension in the locker room, but I think the dissension is the problem that they have is that they aren't on the same page as the coaches.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because it has been rumored that some of the Philly players are not believing in Hurts' leadership, and there seems to be some issues there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Hurts' leadership. I think that this has to do with both play calling of the coaches. I think it has more to do with the coaches. I think that the media is making it a Hurts thing. I think for real, it's a coaching thing. That's what I believe. I don't think that Hurts is the problem. Guy works really hard at his craft. Now, he definitely recessed this year. He took a step back. But we know how he can play. There are flaws in his game that I don't know that they're ever going to be fixed. You know what I mean? The man cannot get to the third read. Just cannot get to the third read. Yep. He's got 1, 2, and gone. And then the play calling, you're running the ball and you're getting 4 or 5 yards a carry plus. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to go to pass, and then you're going to do this draw, and he gets contained, and then he slides, and he slides for a couple yard loss. And then another draw, and he slides for a couple yard loss. Now you got 3rd and 16. Let's call a screen pass. That doesn't work. Those plays don't work. So I don't believe that it's a Hurts thing. I think that this is a coaching thing. And like I said, it could be all a farce. It could be a game that they're playing. Hey, listen, we stink. Truth of the matter is that had we won 2 of these games, had we beaten the Seahawks, which we should have, and then beaten Arizona, we'd be the number 1 seed.
Sure.
But Shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't.
Yep.
And that's the problem. So do I believe that they're going to solve this problem in enough time? Possibly, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
No, I mean, we all have the shoulda, coulda, woulda set up, though, because for the Seahawks, if they do miss, right, they're going to look back at the Dallas game, right? It was a winnable game.
Absolutely. They're going to look back at the Dallas game.
They're going to look back at either one of the Rams games, and they're certainly going to look at that Bengals game that they dominated every statistical field except the score at the end, right? Which is the only one that matters. But, you know, when you look at the games, those are the ones they're going to look back on if they do miss the playoffs and be like, yeah, those are the games that kept us out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with Dallas, like I said, so let me ask you this question, because in the very beginning of the season, I thought that the coach would it would be an implosion year for the coach. Like, I thought that they were going to start off a little slow. There would be dissensions in the ranks, and that Dallas would implode, and that we would not see McCarthy as a coach anymore. Now he's possibly about to win the division, you know, minus a big setback this week against Washington. If he doesn't make it out of the first round, if whatever team comes in, and I mean, because potentially it could be the Rams, it could be Seattle come back there again, could be Green Bay. If they were to lose in the first round of the playoffs, does McCarthy stay?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do. I really do. I don't want him to stay because I'm not a big McCarthy fan. And I said this is day one, even though he has done better now that Kellen Moore is gone, you know. But I think he's a little bit more antiquated. I think I don't think he's as imaginative and things like that. There's better coaches. I think they have younger minds that are transitioning for the way the NFL is going to be going. And I think McCarthy is going to kind of get left in the past. I would much rather have a Brian Flores. I've been on Brian Flores' bandwagon since he was out there in Miami, and I wish that they would get somebody like that. But I don't know if that's going to fit the Jerry quote-unquote Jones mold, which I still say is what hurts us the most. But no, yeah, Mike McCarthy, I think he stays because Jerry likes him. And when Jerry likes you, you tend to stay a little longer than you should.
Well, but so say they do move on from him. Do they just elevate Dan Quinn and then bring in a offensive mind to be the
I would be okay with that too, man, because I love Dan Quinn, man. I mean, I know he didn't do very well as a head coach out there with Atlanta, but I think he would do well in our system.
They got to a Super Bowl. It's not like he's.
I'm not saying they didn't get a Super Bowl, but after that Super Bowl, everything kind of died back down. I would, like I said, I'm okay with Dan Quinn being our head coach as long as we got a good offensive mind. Like, for example, I'm pretty sure Bieniemy is going to be in line for a head coaching job at some point. I don't think he stays in Washington. I think he's going to leave with Washington. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Kansas City, to be honest with you. But God, could you imagine if I had Dan Quinn and we'd be a guy like Bieniemy in to run our offense? I mean, I would be ecstatic.
Would you?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big fan of Bieniemy, and I don't think he's going to get a coaching job. I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job. Let me do that. I think that he's a strong enough offensive mind to get another offensive coordinator job. But yeah, I know that he's not. I know he's not going to stick around in Washington because I do not believe that Washington's going to just because they got new ownership there. And I know, knowing a little bit how the Harris Group works, that they're not going to have somebody who could possibly be a media issue as their first head coach. Just not how they're going to do it. They're going to get somebody who is going to at least be clean cut. It wouldn't even surprise me to see Belichick go down to Washington. Not saying that, but it wouldn't surprise me to have somebody like that for the next 3 years just kind of run the system until he's ready to retire and do that. Maybe I know that Joe Gibbs has been there twice. Similar situation. I kind of think like you maybe want a football mind of that caliber to come in. So I wouldn't even be surprised to hear Bill Parcells' name come back, you know, as the president of operations.
if you were Bieniemy, I wouldn't want that job anyway, right? Washington is interesting in the way of if you're a seasoned coach, right? Like you've had head coaching jobs. Say they go get Harbaugh. Say he doesn't stay in Michigan, right? That makes sense because if you flame out in Washington, you're going to blame it on it's Washington. Everybody flames out, right? But if it's your first shot, say it's Bieniemy in there, right, and you flame out, that can potentially end your career, right? Like that's one of those locations that if you have a big enough name, then be like, oh, okay, it didn't work out there, but it's Washington, so that can happen. But if you are unproven, I mean, that could bury you before it starts.
Which is why I could actually see him going back to KC as the offensive coordinator there, waiting for Andy Reid, who's, obviously getting way older, and just taking over that spot. Honestly, I could see him doing that. And then that obviously would build his name. He's got a good lineup. He's got a good team he'll be inheriting. He just has to continue mission. Get him a good defensive guy, keep on going that direction. So I could see Kansas City working out for him in a long run. And like I said, I could see him going to Dallas. Now, will Dallas bring him in? Probably not. But I would love to see Dan Quinn and Eric Bieniemy. I would. I think you got a defensive mind, an offensive mind. You get those two guys together with some talent. I mean, that could be a force to reckon with.
And right now, I'll be honest, I wouldn't really be opposed to having Bieniemy come in as our offensive coordinator.
Sure.
And Brian Johnson has been underwhelming, to say the least. The fact that we went 10-1, and we did beat some good teams during that time. That 10-1 wasn't like we did beat Dallas, we did beat Buffalo, we did beat Kansas City. So it wasn't like it was a bad time. You know what I mean? We came up against our gauntlet and we didn't do as well, and then we haven't done as well since then. That this team looks a little old now.
Yeah, I could see.
But
I could see the Falcons moving on from Arthur Smith and bringing in Bieniemy because he could probably actually use Bijan, right? So that would probably be a bonus. And then they bring in a defensive coordinator to, kind of shore that up. But I could see him being a fit down there because they actually have a decent team.
They just need a field general. Atlanta just needs a quarterback. They get a bunch of backups, and that's great to have backups. But if they had an actual damn quarterback, they could probably do something out there. They really could. They got Drake London. They got Pitts. They got Bijan. I mean, you got the three-headed monster right there. You just need a guy that can run that damn offense.
Yeah, but I mean, you also have to have a coach that's going to dial up plays to use.
Oh, I get that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean,
absolutely.
Bijan had games where he had like one fantasy point. Like, how are you using the guy that little?
Right.
I mean, I think Kyle Pitts is so underutilized. It's ridiculous.
Sure,
it really is. I mean, this guy could be so much better than what they're allowing him to be.
Well,
but again, if you don't have a field general, I mean, it's really hard to get him the ball when you don't have a guy that, that's good.
True. No, I'm with you. I think they bring in a quarterback and they move on from the coach. I think
God forbid this draft class is full of potential. Honestly, at some level, they should be able to get somebody, and it was better than what they have.
Oh, easily, yeah.
I'm curious to this. Hey, let me ask you this. So now we know Belichick is gone. Does McDaniels get the head coach job over there? Does he get a third shot at it, or is he just done and cooked?
Oh man, I hope he does because that would be fantastic. I will bring the marshmallows to this fire. Be fantastic.
All right, so real quick, just because I know I'm changing gears here, but this just came up, so I wanted to report on it. MLB just came out with their first power rankings.
Okay.
I'll give you a shot at who do you think is the number one?
I'm going to say L.A.
I mean, it has to be, right? 1.3 billion and three guys.
Yeah. Hey, if it's not, there's
right?
You would be correct. Both of you guys would be correct. The LA Dodgers is number one on the list.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to take a shot at number 2, 3?
Man, does let's see, for 2.
I'm gonna go Rangers.
Yeah,
because they didn't lose anybody. I
Number
can't
5. Rangers are
Rangers
number
at
5
5?
on the list.
okay. I was going to go 3, so okay. I mean, Houston's still going to be up there.
Houston is number 4.
There we go. Okay.
Mm.
All
So
right.
you got
so
4 and 5.
All right.
2 and 3.
Braves.
Huh?
Braves.
Braves are number 2.
Oh, yeah. Atlanta makes sense. Atlanta makes it minus the flame out in the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, amazing.
And I think 3 goes to Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona is number 7.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Man, that's some disrespect. They were the World Series. 7. Tampa get 3.
No way.
Actually.
Oh, Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. Royals.
Baltimore number 6.
Wow.
Damn.
That's surprising.
I know you guys are dancing all around this, but it's the Philadelphia Phillies as number 3.
I wouldn't have got there. Yeah. That's
Hey, I want to know who came up with that one. Honestly, they don't.
This is MLB. So to finish out the top 10, because we got all the way to 7 with the Diamondbacks, 8 are the Yankees, 9 are the Devil Rays, 10 are the Blue Jays, 11 Seattle Mariners.
Wow.
12 Boston Red Sox.
Seattle. I thought Seattle was a little bit better than that.
no way. I'm surprised they're that high.
Really? I don't know, man. I think Seattle's got something going over there.
No, because we just got rid of some players, making it look like they were going to go after Ohtani, and then didn't.
Oh, that's right. Damn.
But then also didn't bring anybody in. Like, we are going to be a bottom 3rd team if it sits how it is.
God.
Yeah,
well, as long as the A's are in our division, you'll still look good.
Right? But that 100% was my response. Is like, why? Yeah.
Hey, since we're on that topic, since the A's are now going out to Vegas,
sure.
Do you think they get better, or are they going to still be the same A's?
Do they have the same owner?
Yes, they have the same owner, and they have one more year in Oakland.
Yeah, no, but that's my point, is they have the same owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think that with the Vegas money, that might give that ownership a little bit more flexibility to do something.
All they had to do is put a competent team on the field. That stadium filled up in Oakland. Like, it's not like, I remember when the A's were good, that stadium would be full. It's hard to fill a stadium if you win 35 games.
Well, hey, just so that you know, the Athletics are the 30th team on the list. They are the worst team on the list.
Yeah, I believe that absolutely all day.
And it shouldn't even be close.
Yeah.
Okay. There's some bad teams, but out of 30, they should be like 33rd. I'm pretty sure there's AAA teams that could beat them down.
Hey, no. I'm still sticking with the Savannah Bananas can beat them. I can keep that team out there. They take them.
100% they could. Their ball skills are no joke. They can get a guy out at first base, throw him behind their back. You can't
while dancing.
Yeah, like you're doing this and then bouncing the ball in, and the dude gets out, and Oakland can't make a shortstop grab, underhanded toss to second base.
Man, I remember when I used to live in Savannah, we started out with the New York's AAA affiliate, the Nats, and then the Savannah Bananas came in, and they were actually like a legit, summer league team, and then they brought in this circus act, and I looked at my wife and I said, well, damn, I guess there goes baseball. So then it became a circus after that.
It's funny.
Now they are the highest grossing team in baseball, in all of baseball. They gross more ticket sales than anyone else in baseball.
That makes
crazy. That's crazy.
So,
no,
it's just, the truth of the matter is like you think about the Harlem Globetrotters,
exactly,
and how long of a lifespan they've had, but by just doing tricks with the basketball, and now you've got the Harlem Globetrotters.
Name.
So, but that's what that is. it'd be interesting. Like, obviously, a hockey team can't do this. A football team can't do it because it's not that the game doesn't run that way. Like, you can't do it on ice. You can't do it on a football field.
I mean, basketball doesn't either. They'd be calling traveling nonstop against the Globetrotters, right?
But it's an act. Obviously, it's an act. That's why they keep playing the Washington Nationals every, and that's whatever that team, or the Washington Senators. And I think the Washington Senators have a record of like 2-470. Because they get their butts beat every night by
right.
Yeah, because it's WWE. Like, it's not a real game.
That is exactly correct. So, in the last few minutes of time that we have here, I have to mention this because I would be remiss if I did not. Last night, there was the first ever game of the Professional Women's Hockey League. And they had a game of New York versus Toronto. New York won the game via shutout, but they did have their first game ever yesterday. So I wanted to definitely make sure that got mentioned. So just all those ladies that are following us, let you know that I do care about women's sports, even though Philadelphia doesn't have any women's sports teams. We do have a professional women's football team called the Philadelphia Phantoms with a Z, and they were actually really good this year in the WNFC. But there's women's hockey now that is out there. And last night, New York shut out Toronto in the first PWHL game of all time. New York won 4-0.
Awesome. So how many teams are in that league? I actually hadn't even heard about it. So
I don't know. I have no idea how many are in the league.
There needs to be more marketing done on this league. Apparently, they haven't.
Right.
Right. But I didn't even know that there was a PWHL. I'm sure that there are probably at least 8. Let's see if I can do a quick little.
I mean, honestly, that's where the WNBA runs into a problem too. Is you never even hear about it until it's almost
zero. You hear zero about them.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that is just ESPN. ESPN don't say nothing about it. I mean, they don't care. I mean, they don't.
But it's crazy because it's like, here in Seattle, we have a team. They've won championships, and But even locally, you don't hear about the games until it's the playoffs.
Let's be honest. What's the most amount of publicity the WNBA has ever gotten was Brittany Griner.
Sure.
That was it. Like the whole world was talking about WNBA and Brittany Griner at that point, but nobody cared about it after that. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there are
can't get enough of the marketing.
Teams.
There's how many? 4?
4.
That's got to be a
4 teams in the league.
That's got to be a short season.
So yeah, a 1-4 chance of being the champion.
24 games that they play, each team. So obviously, they'll be playing a lot against each other and stuff like that. And but that's cool. I mean, hey, listen, you got to start. You got to crawl before you walk. And the fact that they were able to do this, I wanted to give it a mention. We are a sports show. We talk about all sports here, and the Women's Hockey League got that much time from me, which is more than what the cornhole team is getting right now.
Coming up
realistically,
next, long curling. Here we go.
Hey, we're going to try to start our own men's curling team. You know what I mean? The 3 of us get out there. That would be amazing.
So funny thing about that is I've actually done it. I've actually done curling. That is super fun. So weirdly, I didn't know anything about it. But here in the Seattle area, there is a curling club, and a buddy of mine wanted to do it for his birthday. And I was just like, first, I've lived here my whole life and driven by this building, and I had no idea what it was. So, but we went, and they got a bar upstairs, and then, you can just go down, and, it's super-sized shuffleboard. It's a ton of fun. So if you haven't done it, I actually recommend doing it. It is a blast. Yeah.
I did drunk curling once. Does that count?
That's a different kind of curling.
So, and I guess my question for you, since you brought it up, how many points did you actually score
For what?
Yeah, during the game when you are a novice playing this game? How many points did you actually score?
Actually, a lot. It was easier than you would have thought. Now, obviously, if you're going against like professionals, they're going to beat you down like a professional would in any sport. But we were playing against our friends, right? And so you kind of get dialed in as far as kind of getting the puck to stop where you want it to. So then it becomes the skill element of it of, the guys you watch on TV, they get it to arc and, all of that stuff. And you got everybody out there with the brooms and whatever. So you get to do all of that stuff. But, initially you're just trying to get it in the target, but the target's big, right? So, you can't tell on TV, but the target is actually a pretty good size. So you sort of get dialed in after a little bit. I think the biggest thing is getting used to sliding on the ice, kind of getting that speed worked out is probably the biggest challenge. And of course, the first few times you do it, you're pretty much just falling over towards the end of it, right? You're kind of like leaning on the puck a little bit, and then you let go, and you're like, well, I'm going to fall down now. So,
Yeah, go face first. You're sliding right next to the puck. Actually, sometimes you're passing the puck, passing the stone. It's not even a puck; it's a stone.
Yeah, it's a stone. So. It's a stone, and it really is. It's a chunk of granite. Like that thing is. They're pretty heavy, but no, it was a ton of fun. Like if you have one in your area, check it out sometime. It is hilarious.
There you go. See, so we only here are you able to get curling knowledge like this, like nowhere else. Curling is one of our top sports here that we have played, or at least one of us has played. I am good at. I have an arm wrestling table. We can start talking about some arm wrestling too, but we don't.
I want to go to Home Depot and get me a couple of brooms and start practicing for curling.
Spin the hat around,
There you go. So, yeah. But we talk all different types of sports, and that's why I definitely wanted to mention the women's hockey league getting started out there. The four teams.
But I draw the line at cricket. We're not talking cricket. I draw the line at cricket.
So to be fair, I got asked to jump on a show, and they're like, minutes before, they're like, we're going to talk about cricket. And I'm like, cool. I am not going to be helpful to this show. No idea. All I know is you're supposed to like throw a ball at a stick, and then your other guy can block or like try and smack it. Like, I don't know.
See, and Rich is already, he's like, hey, listen, we got lots of curlers up here. They're definitely big into the curling. And 3 of the 4 the professional women's hockey league teams are up in Canada. We have Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and New York. So
that makes sense.
That does make some sense, because I figure there's a lot more women playing hockey up there than there is in like Texas and stuff. So
yeah, you're not going to play hockey in Texas.
They're too busy crying about the Cowboys not making it to the Super Bowl again.
Dude, we're in the Deep South. No high school got a hockey rink.
I like how you slide that in before the credits.
Hey, listen, you know what? The fact that I live so deeply in his cerebellum for free is amazing.
Yep.
He knows exactly who's getting into each other's head, because he knows better. He absolutely knows better. I crush him. I
literally never think about the Eagles until it's 5 minutes prior to. But Pags has nightmares thinking about them 24/7. I swear to God, I would not be surprised if Pags' underwear are cowboy related.
Not even close. And I would show you, except they would ban us right away. So, anyways, we're at the top of the hour. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging with us today. Jay, we'll see you on Friday. But for everybody else, you'll get to see us tomorrow from 12 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again for hanging with us. And as always, have a great night.